Hello, students. Mrs. Grant here. I hope that this message finds you well, and I hope you enjoyed your nice long weekend. Today, I am going to be going over what a TPCAST is and giving you a little introduction to our first poem that we're going to be working with called Piano. So, kind of going through your assignment today and your tasks, you're going to have this video that you can kind of reference to help you as you go through. But there's going to be a few things that are kind of attached to your assignment today as you go through. So the first thing that you're going to want to take a look at is our TPCAST breakdown. So when we analyze poetry, like we've kind of been introing here, there's a lot of different types of ways that we can analyze poetry. And a TPCAST is one of those ways. So you might have heard of the word TPCAST. You might not have. That's okay. You've heard of annotation. We've done annotation. We're going to get to annotating a poem. We've done analysis in paragraph form. We're going to get to that as well. But today, we're going to use the format of a TPCAST to analyze a poem. So I'm going to click on our TPCAST breakdown here and kind of tell you what you're going to do. So the TPCAST basically kind of represents some different things that you're going to do as you're looking at a poem. So the first T is title. So you're going to look at the title actually before you even read the poem and just jot down some ideas of what do I think this poem is about? What do I think that title means? Kind of the first thing that pops into your head without actually reading it. So then after you do that first T, before you go on to the P, you're going to actually read the poem. I would suggest you read it out loud. Today you're going to have a video that you're going to be able to listen to. There's going to be some other days where I read the poem out loud to you as well. But poetry is meant to be read out loud. So anytime you're looking at poetry, anytime you're doing that, I would read it out loud as much as you can and more than one time. A lot of times, poetry is something that you need to read a few times before you actually kind of catch on to the majority of what the author is trying to do. So the P in our TPCAST is paraphrase. So this is where you're going through the poem and you're just kind of translating what each of these words mean. Obviously, some of them are going to be more detailed, some of them are going to be a little bit shorter. And so what your job is to do in that paraphrase is kind of go through those lines and say, what does this actually mean? What is the author trying to get us to think about in each of those lines? Connotation, kind of looking at what kind of significant words mean in a variety of ways. So maybe a word means one thing, but what is the connotation of it? Kind of what is the reaction to that? So we're looking at the connotation of what kind of words mean and how they may stand out. Maybe they have more than one type of meaning as we're going through that. The A is attitude. So again, we're talking about the attitude of the speaker, the attitude of the author. What is the attitude towards the subject? As we look at a lot of these things, there's more than one right answer here. So just know that there's going to be different things that are correct and incorrect, but there's going to be more than one right answer as we go through different TPCASTs. All right, the S here is in shift. Where are there shifts in the poem? Are there shifts in the speaker? Are there shifts in the attitude? How about the type of diction that's used? Whatever it might be, is there some kind of shift within that poem? And then the second to last T is title. Again, we're revisiting that title and looking at it. The first thing that popped into our head, was that right? We just want to re-examine it and think, were we on the right track? Were we not? Did we learn more about the title as we actually went through it? And then the last thing is theme. As we go through, we've been doing a lot with theme based on our literary outline and our literary essay. So now we're kind of shifting that theme into poetry as well. So, looking at that theme and what kind of lesson and ideas does the actual author want us to go through. So that is a TPCAST breakdown, that kind of what each of those things mean, and we go through. You should have that document so you can kind of go back and look at that as we go through. So first thing you're going to want to do is kind of look at that, know what a TPCAST is. And then the next thing that you're going to do is there's a little introduction to kind of our poem here. I'll briefly talk about that, but you want to look at some of that introduction and before you actually read it. So we have D.H. Lawrence, and he wrote this poem. This poem was published in 1918, and it kind of reflects on the thoughts and feelings of the speaker as he listens to kind of a woman singing a song at dusk. And this scenario of him hearing this woman singing brings him back to his childhood, and he reflects back on sitting at his mother's feet while she played the piano. So that's kind of the setup of this poem as he's kind of reflecting back on that. Just a little background on D.H. Lawrence is that he was kind of a jack of all trades. He did a lot of different things. He was a novelist, he was a poet, as you'll read in this. He was a playwright, he wrote essays, he was a literary critique, he painted. So he did a lot of different things. But as a lot of his works did, a lot of things like with emotions and emotional kind of health of that, you'll see kind of some emotion in this poem. And that was something that was very prevalent in his work in those days where he was from until 1930. So, just a little background on him. And now you'll see that the poem that we have is on here. So, the text is here. I would suggest that you have the text in front of you as you're listening. So, you'll have kind of more than one thing up at a time, or at least make sure that you're going back and referencing this actual poem itself. So, this is the poem text. And then we have this little clip of him. This is a picture of him. Obviously, this isn't like him actually reading it because, this was from a long, long time ago, but some people did some stuff in computer and they made it seem like this is him reading his own poem. So some of my students tend to like it. Some think it's a little creepy, but hopefully you enjoy it. So I'm just going to click on, we're not going to listen to the whole thing, but so you can see that that's kind of where you'll have that poem. You'll be able to look at that video and kind of go through that poem together, looking at both of those. So once you've listened to the poem, read through the poem, I would do it at least twice before I jumped in, just because, and you might have to do it multiple times, especially if you have that poem in front of you. So once you've looked at that poem, read that poem, now you're going to jump in and you're going to do your own TPCAST based on the piano. So that's kind of the last thing that's attached here in your assignment today. We have the TPCAST template. So here is your template. Kind of breaks you down here. So again, remember, title the poem. So you want to do that. You actually want to do this before you read the poem. So remember, you want to reflect on the title of piano. What does it mean before you actually listen to it? Then you're going to go through, paraphrase it, give some connotation, attitude, shift, revisit that title of piano, and then give a theme. So you'll make a copy of this template so that you can write right on this document before you turn it in. Okay, so that is kind of the final step that you will do. Once you finish that document of the TPCAST template based on piano, then you'll turn that in. So hopefully that helps you kind of work through your assignment today. If you have questions, please reach out and ask. Otherwise, good luck and enjoy your piano poem today.